expect. And then when I go to buy them, in my head, I'm going, you think I'm buying it for food, but it's actually, you're my gardening shop. So when you have that in your mindset, I become incredibly happy. Because when I see, for example, I would not normally buy this, but this is a vine tomato, you know, the posh ones. And I just think, oh, that's ridiculous. Let me get the cheapy ones. But these are great for seeds. So inside there is like a seed packet. So you get food and you get seeds. And I think we're missing something.
Can you, I keep forgetting if my mic's on or not. So can you just take the seeds out of a tomato that you've bought?
Yes.
And plant them, and then you've got more.
Oh my gosh. So I'm trying to show you this here. It's a bit like Blue Peter, but I'm not sure if it's working.
I love Blue Peter, so I'm really enjoying the Blue Peter.
I've cut it in half.
Yeah. Print it on the screen. No, sorry.
You can see the little seeds inside.
Yeah.
And for me, that's all about potential. Inside all our students and our staff, there's that potential. And it's always in there, unless it's seedless. And then that's a different, I can't use that as anything. Everything's got seeds for me. So you get that.
Yeah.
So what some people do, there's a number of ways. You can cut them out, put them onto a tissue and leave them to dry. You can cut them out and put them into a jar of water. And what happens, this is amazing, all the viable seeds drop to the bottom. I don't know why. And the non-viable float. So it's a really easy way of knowing which seeds work.
How did you know that, though? How?
I'm mad about, I have an allotment I'm just crazy about. Stuff.
Yeah.
But that's not the point. The allotment's not the point. It's about what you can do at home with nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can do this. And then you can draw these like Barbara. So Barbara, this is Barbara. She's just coming in now. Thanks, Jonathan.
Pleasure. Hi, Barbara.
I'm here, Jenny, by the way. I'm just...
Hiya. You all right?
I'm listening.
Hello. Yeah. So should introduce. Oh, sorry, I haven't even introduced myself. I'm just assuming that everybody knows me, but that's really bad. My name is Jheni Arboine, and I work across CCW in academic enhancement. And this is a colleague, and we went to university together many moons ago. So Barbara, you can introduce yourself.
Okay. I'm Barbara. Barbara Beckles. Known Jheni for many years. I can't tell you how many because
don't do it.
That would be terrible, wouldn't it? So yeah, good to be online. Yeah.
Good. Could you say in what capacity you're here?
What capacity?
Yeah, secretary of.
Oh, secretary of the South London Seed Society.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's a new community group that we set up during the lockdown.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit more about that? Barbara.
You can go on.
Just because I'm just in my kitchen cooking.
Oh, so it's really informal. It's just a way of encouraging each other to remember to plant seeds, to keep seeds, literally what we're going through today, just in a gentle way. And it sounds, I like the name, but it's really encouraging. Like, what have you grown? What have you done? So you could talk about your meadow that you've done, Barbara.
Okay, I've grown a wildflower meadow in a very small patch of land. I sowed it in October. It's now way up to my knees. It hasn't actually flowered yet, but it's getting there with spring time. So there's lots of potential. Hopefully in the next month or so, it'll be a glorious, very colourful meadow.
So Barbara, you say, "Oh, I've just sown a meadow," flower meadow, like you do. But that sounds quite extraordinary. What on earth? What does that mean? How do you go about sowing a meadow? What's the process to sowing a meadow?
Okay, so I had a patch of land, so it's in my front garden actually, and I thought it needs the usual thing would be just to put a lawn there, And I thought, well, no, I don't want to do that. I want something more interesting than a lawn.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of getting some grass seeds and getting other seeds as well, wildflowers, and they're really easy to obtain. So you can mix grass seed with, if you can get some seeds of you can clover and daisies and all kinds of stuff. You mix it up, and it becomes, a lot more interesting, and attractive, to bees and butterflies. So it encourages diversity, I suppose, biodiversity. And it's something which replenishes itself, because I'm told, I haven't got to that stage yet, but when it's flowered and the flowers have died off, you can just go and like shake the flower heads, so replenish and reseed, and then cut it down, and then it come back again. So yeah,
Sounds
that's
amazing.
my hope.
Are you doing was there an event or something that I know? Is there some seed swap thing happening, or did I hallucinate that off the UAL website?
No, there could be some seed thing happening somewhere else. Yeah, there could be. There's lots of seed things at the moment, but yeah, it's just a sort of friendship group of encouraging each other to look after seeds and to grow. Even if you think you can't grow, you've never grown, but just to have a go. So I think the Barbara's Meadow, it's going to be quite interesting how it looks. And
Yeah.
Sounds
You
lovely.
can have a meadow in a pot as well. You can pot grow them as well.
Can you?
Yeah. Oh yeah, indeed.
That's lovely.
Okay then. So I'm just going to start with oh gosh, this one. This is the one that brought me the most joy, which is what we would call the spring onion. So this spring onion, so again, Lidl sells the cheapest ones, but when you buy spring onions, I know this is petty. It's not petty. You also get 2 free blue rubber bands that I keep. So not wasting anything. And then when you choose your spring onions, always try to choose those that have got some sort of shriveled roots already and they're not clean cut off. That's really important. So most people discard that because they think, oh, they're nasty, but they're the ones that you would choose. So once you've chosen those, you would normally cut the tops off. So I'm just going to cut so you know that it's real. So you'd cut the tops off here. There was no harm to the plant when that chop took place, so you just cut that off, and then you put this bit in the water, and then you have this bit as your food for if you're going to use it for. And then I put them in, so this is in here. So this, I have a thing about the containers. So this was a soya-based yogurt container. And you take off, and it encourages you to use the container. And the label is paper, and you can recycle that. And then I put the cut or trimmed ones in here. And within a week, it will grow. It's amazing. And you harvest it. It will do about 3 harvests before it says, listen, put me in some soil, please, because you're having a laugh. So, yeah, just need to have that soil at some point. So, yeah, I can do that. And then what happens is when you harvest, this is what you get. Massive bags of onion for free.
Wow.
Yeah. So
For the same price of one packet of spring onions.
Yes.
I love this idea. I mean, gardening is a lot of work, isn't it? I mean, I've got a bit of a gardener's world habit at the moment. So I watch, and this is a real admission, because it's obviously not very rock and roll to be spending a lot of time watching Gardener's World. It's not really, but it's always, you have to go out and buy potting compost, peat free, obviously, and watering well and all that kind of stuff. It's loads of work. But I love this idea that it's the stuff that you would actually have to throw in the bin. So you get a whole packet of, and it's just, I know it is really simple and really kind of small in terms of planet and kind of divert, but it's really important. I think it's a really fundamental thing that actually, and a hack with that stuff that you're buying stuff, and everything you do costs money, doesn't it? And that sense of you get 4 times as much from buying one packet. I love it. I'm going to do it. I really like it. Thank you.
And then my other shop.
They just grow. So the onions just kind of
grow in the bag.
Yeah, you cut them and they'll grow. It's just lovely. But I just want other people to do it, even if you don't eat onions. It's amazing. It's really, really amazing, and it's free, and it just makes you feel good. So
did you put something in the pot, Jheni, with it? Did you just put
just water?
Just water. So you don't have to have soil.
No. So this is with all the ones I'm showing you today are all water based.
It's amazing.
Just out the tap.
That is amazing.
What do you do with your onion bits that you've got in your bag? Because that's a lot.
So
egg fried rice, I do. Sorry.
Yeah, just chop it all up. You can fry it, add it to any. You can make it into salsa verde.
Okay. Yeah.
Salsa verde. Soups, stews, and if you don't know what to do with it, just shove it straight in the freezer.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. That's really good. And the bag is from IKEA, and these bags can be washed. Yeah, it's getting a bit like frugal living here, but anyway, the way we're going, it's just so there's that one. And then, Barbara, have you got any fruits and things with you? I've got some here, but Barbara's just staring at me. This is the next one. I did have to put it in the vase to make it look nice. You might be able to see the roots. Yeah. So this is a purple carrot.
Wow.
I bought in Fortnum and Mason's. It's the only thing I could afford. And I kept the top. And it's growing. It's got a hint of pink in it. But the reason this is important because carrots take 2 years. 1 year to grow the root and the second year to grow the foliage and the flowers so you can get your own seeds. So this is a way of growing your own seeds. And then once it's got some roots there, you put that into the earth and it should carry on growing. So seeds are really expensive at the moment.
How do you know, because obviously some stuff would be genetically modified so you don't get seeds because you're supposed to buy more of the fruits rather than so how do you know it will have seeds?
That's the experimental part of it. So when you do it, so you try to buy organic, that's helpful. And then when you buy seeds, you're trying to buy heirloom seeds. So heirloom seeds are the one that generate their own kind. And you should only need 1 packet because from thereafter you keep your own seeds. Sure. And that's so people like the massive company that ends with Santo.
We shall not name here.
No, not at all. They're trying to do it so that you have to buy seed every year, so that hybrid F1 hybrid stuff. But this is a way where you can try and circumvent that and try and do different things. So that's a carrot. So we've done carrot, green onions, celery, and then this one, the next one. I know it's a bit. After I finish showing you, we can then talk about how it feels. Look at those roots! Don't you feel good?
Wow.
And this was a special type of pak choi in Waitrose, like £3, but I loved it and I thought I'm just going to get it to grow it. So I cut off the outer leaves and then these ones started to grow, and then once probably next week I'll put it in soil as well, so you have some really good stuff that you can grow. And the other thing that's happened with the shops, if we've been used to when we look at a carrot, or when we look at celery, it's about that small. When you plant it, it's massive. So they're just training us that everything's tiny, and it's not true. So
But you can plant the supermarket celery in the water, and then once it's in the water, you put it in the garden.
Yeah, once it has roots, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love this. I just, because it's so complicated. It always feels so complicated. I've got hundreds of gardening books. I don't ever achieve much gardening, but it is that sense that it's that idea that everything's made more complicated than necessarily it has to be, because it's about a neoliberal agenda, about that everything starts with buying something, doesn't it? Like seeds every year, like you're saying, with I can't remember that organisation.
Oh, name them.
Pardon?
We shall not name them. They're evil.
Handy, because I can't remember what their name is. But...
I was going to ask a question, Jheni.
Yeah.
This reminds me of the fact of, so my mum was someone who was always gardening, in our house all the time in the front of the house. And my mum passed away about 6 years ago, and I remember our neighbours, because the front of our house, my dad's at the moment, was kind of completely just looked really battered. And my neighbour, these two guys that knew my mum, they offered and they came into the front for us. Oh. And I remember really going to B&Q to buy these sunflowers, and I was like, oh, do you know, I really want to make the front look nice. And I remember going to buy these sunflowers and getting all these different plants, saying I'm going to grow them, and they died within 2 days. And I was like, what did I do wrong? I thought I'd given them enough water. And I think there's been this whole practice when it comes to gardening and growing things, especially over the past year and a half, especially. Mm-hmm. I know my mum loved gardening, and I have friends that are plant mums, and they have to give their plants to somebody else to look after. And they say it's also similar to how we grow our hair as Black women, and this idea of I'm not about nurturing, that nurturing process. So I've got many questions, but my first one is, what do you think it is about? Any tips for someone that's kind of wants to start growing and doesn't have a clue? And I think it kind of traumatized me a bit, because I'm a bit I don't want to get it wrong. It kind of really deflated me when it just died, and I was like, I can't do it, because my mum made it look very easy. And also, what is it about that, the process of kind of gardening and growing, that's kind of changed, especially in the past year? Lots of questions, but yeah.
Yeah, I think we can all have a go at answering those questions. I would say, once I wanted to grow chives, I bought some chive seeds, I put them in the ground, and they did start growing, and then they disappeared. And I thought, I cannot grow chives. I just thought, that's it. I'm never going to try. I'm not going to do it. And then what I realized was that said snails were coming and eating the chives, and obviously I didn't see the snails. And then I realized it wasn't me, it was something else. So sometimes it's something else, and you've just got to keep trying. But I would try the spring onions.
The spring onions in the bag? No,
you're just going to get them as a bunch from the shops. You get about 5 bunches, and then just put them in water and cut the tops. Use the green tops in your food and keep the bits in water, and they will grow back.
Oh, wow.
But I think by you doing that, it will just give you the confidence to carry on. What do you think, Barbara? Do you think that's a good one to do?
Yeah, have a go. I think you just got to experiment, and so what if you fail? I have a confession. I was trying to grow tomatoes last summer, and I had a greenhouse full of lovely greenery with not one tomato.
Oh.
And just
great smell
walking.
though. I mean, the smell of tomato plants is great though. It's lovely, but
not one tomato.
I think
not one. None came.
None.
What happened?
Isn't that? It's so annoying, though. I mean, I know it's really easy to say
Yeah.
you try, but I'm the same. I keep trying to grow things, and then I forget to water them, and it just makes me feel like a failure. And
Yeah.
that's what I really like about the fact of putting in the water.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I enjoyed it at the time, though, watching them grow, grew them from
Hmm.
seed,
Yeah.
took them outside, did all the right things, and then, just didn't want to.
You didn't get the juicy reward.
And so frustrating when you see the, on the street and people are just growing them in an old shoe and they've got a whole bunch of tomatoes. You think, what the hell's going on? I spent,
But do you think it's about people who do things and you don't realise how much skill is involved? I mean, do you grow things successfully, Barbara? Are there things that you grow really well?
Yeah, but I think it's just, in answer to the lady. Sorry, I can't see. I've got my glasses on.
Yes.
Her name. Question about just experimenting. One thing I am curious about, because I've heard, like we put out our food compost and stuff that the council takes away.
Buffering a bit.
And
You'd say that again. We didn't hear you. Buffering.
Okay, yeah, we our food waste that the council now takes away if you do and all the rest of it. So I read somewhere that when they're turning that into compost, a lot of the time they get a lot of plants that are growing naturally because lots of people are composting their tea leaves. So I was thinking, because I like chamomile tea, what if I can grow some chamomile for my my old tea bags? So I might try that one. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, just give it a go. Just be curious about it.
Hi, does anyone grow cucumbers?
Oh.
No.
Well, I used to grow cucumbers until I don't know what it was that was going through my garden and eating those. But my husband loves cucumber salsa, Barbadian style, with onions and pepper sauce. And I think it was Monty Don I got this from, that if you cut the cucumber on the tree and leave the rest, the bottom callus is over and keeps fresh.
Oh.
Much
wow.
longer than it would in your fridge.
Oh.
So, and it's much crunchier when you grow your own cucumber as well.
Oh.
So you don't get soggy cucumbers in your fridge because it stays nice and fresh on the vine.
That's good to know.
Anybody ever tries that?
Nope.
Really good. Oh, that's even beyond my ambitions.
What, to grow cucumbers?
Yeah.
Oh no, I buy the seeds I buy them from, oh, not allowed to use names, are we?
A shop. A seed company.
I think you can
Fence.
use the name.
I grow all sorts runny beans, and I grow them up rose bushes and things like that. Grow things, sprouts in boxes hang them off the fence. My little postage stamp garden. But I just thought the cucumber ones are the best because it's just so crispy as well when you grow your own. I tended to lose a lot. The flower fall off, but my goodness, the ones that grows are so sweet. Anyway, that's my contribution.
Thank you. Wow. That's nice.
Have you tried leaving one on the plant to dry out? So you get the seed from it.
I haven't actually. I don't think my husband would leave them there long enough to do that.
Because I know that's what they do. I'm from Barbados as well, and they
I have to try that.
that's what they do with okra. They leave one to
I'll
dry
have
out
to
on
try that next time.
the bush. Yeah, and when it's dried out, it's just full of seeds.
But Barbara, what about, because Jenny was talking before you came in about the tomato and sorry to mention tomatoes. I don't know whether this is allowed to talk about tomatoes. talking about taking the seeds from a fresh tomato and propagating or whatever it is you're talking about here, because it's way over my head with those seeds. Would it be possible to do that with a cucumber, because you've got again the wetness? So could you take the seeds from there and sort of dry them on the kitchen towel or whatever else? Do you think is that, or put them in water to see which are the viable ones? Viable seeds, I just love that. It's great.
I think it would work. I'll do it with squash. So take the seeds out of the squash, then take the seeds and then dry them and then plant them the next year. So it does work. So I don't have to buy squash seeds.
That's brilliant. And you can share your seeds as well if you want to, Victor.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Also, I was going to mention that I had my goddaughter and her sister, and they came to stay, and we planted a packet of hollyhock seeds, and everyone came up. So I had like 18 plants.
Ah,
That's nice.
And it's just beautiful. And so I was able to show them the plants growing. And it's a real sense of achievement for them. And now I need to show them in the garden, obviously.
Yeah, that's really nice. But isn't there's, I don't know what it is, but there seems to be, I find, a sense of enjoyment in it. But it's such a simple thing, and yet it makes me, I don't know, appreciative, all sorts of things. And I suppose one of the things I wanted to show was this really like haggardy looking lemon.
oh yeah.
And when they're like this, all dried and haggardy, don't throw them away. One, they have more juice. I don't know why. And if you score the outside, so don't cut all the way through. And then if you twist it each way, I don't want to get the juice on my, then you can see inside that there are some seeds.
Ooh.
And you haven't cut them in half. So you do that, and then you can keep your seeds. And I keep my seeds in this. 2 points if anyone knows what was lit in here.
Is that a Pret yogurt pot?
Nope. Close.
Olives.
Nope. Close.
Hummus.
Hummus.
Yes, hummus. Yeah.
Do I get a prize?
So I use
How many lemon seeds have you got to grow?
I've got loads. I just keep them usually in something like this that the lid can go on, and these lids are sort of quite good. They're quite, I don't know why, obviously if it's hummus, but they're really good to dry them out in a bit of newspaper or a tissue. And then yeah, so my sowing week is going to be bits of this week and next week, and I'm just going to broadcast and scatter. The one thing I would say about tomatoes, don't become emotionally bound to them like our friend Barbara. Don't. So what I did is I collected the seeds and I just threw them on some soil. I didn't even put them in. I just threw them and left them, ignored them, and they all grew. And then I was so fascinated by it to the point that I don't know what happened, but I didn't plant them on. So it's really sad. Very sad story there. But sometimes when you don't think about them, you just throw them on the soil or whatever, then that's really good. And the other one I would say is when you get fresh, you might buy some fresh herbs that are already growing in a pot. So when they die, pull them out, and then you've got soil for free. Well, not free, I suppose you pay for it. But you can I sometimes take out the old stuff and put seeds in that, and they grow.
How long do you leave the lemon seeds and the drying thing? Because you're making this sound all so easy, but I just have this sense that there is some kind of knowledge that you have that you don't even, I don't know, you even know you have it and you don't really. But I've tried doing all these things and they just, like the seeds, I just throw a packet of seeds down. I don't know what it is. They just don't grow.
They do require, you do have to
wash them.
water them.
Yeah.
I've got a friend, she doesn't want a thing. And
No,
then
I don't.
says,
And then I'm baffled by the fact that they're dead. You know, it's just like it's
But I think that if you start with the spring onions, you can't go.
No, I'm definitely gonna do that.
That will help you to build your, like a scaffolding in pedagogy. It will help you to build your confidence.
Yeah.
You can go on to other things. I think
Actually,
you can.
Actually, chard is really easy to grow.
Yeah, and beautiful colours.
Yeah, super easy to grow. And so that's a really good one. And also I've found that beets are good, quite easy to grow.
Beets.
They take a little, beets, like red, but you can, beetroots. So you can get different colours. You can get variegated ones. So they're really easy to grow. And actually beans and peas are really easy to grow.
Yeah.
I was thinking of, in schools, kids are taught to grow a bean out of bean. You know, you take home a bean and you put it into water and it grows, and it's to kind of get them excited about it. And I was just thinking that sometimes you can get sprouting seeds that they're kind of ready to be sprouted, and you're supposed to sort of put them in the water and then they'll sprout and you cook with them. But actually, I suspect if you keep letting them sprout and continue, there will be a full bag of all sorts of mix, from chickpeas to lentil to all sorts of stuff, because they suddenly they're activated, aren't they? So I wondered whether that that kind of Jheni, your idea of throwing them then into the garden and see where it becomes a meadow, doesn't it?
I think the other is experimenting, and I think in Waitrose they sell a bag of just different peas and beans to make a stew or something. But if you soak them and then throw them into soil and see what happens, I think we need to experiment more. I think that gets you not feeling so worried about things or feeling worried about failure. You just have to keep experimenting, and if something doesn't work, you've got to try something else and just keep going.
I've got a bag of that because I did a stew. I just needed some winter stew, so I've got a bag of that. So I will experiment. My husband has a music studio in the back of our house, so we've created a roof garden. And over the years, we started like Barbara with a meadow, so we've planted a meadow. But I am a massive supporter of natural sort of selection and survival. So the meadow went over time. And now I've got clovers because the wind, it's elevated because it's kind of one-story building. So the wind passes by, and we've got some wild stuff going on there, which is fascinating. So I've got lots of clover because from how the wind passed by, clover showed up. But I'll try that. I'll put in the corner a bit of sort of peas and pulses and whatever in that bag is, and let you know what happens.
Oh yeah, take photographs. It'd be great. It'd be really, really good.
I think that's hilarious.
Yeah. No, it's really good.
Jheni, can I ask a question? You started off talking about the seeds and your sort of growing practice in relation to pedagogy. And how far do you think your sort of attitude to the sort of trying stuff out, kind of seeing what's available and kind of doing stuff with it, and et cetera, kind of feeds into your your wider pedagogic practices, your wider working with both students and staff across the university? I mean, is there a relationship between your kind of your gardening and your teaching?
I hope so. I hope that I suppose it's an optimism in a sort of life force in everything, if in the smallest thing. And I suppose the one thing I don't do with gardening that they show on garden shows is, where they do carrots and then they call it thinning out. And the ones that are strong, they keep. And the little ones, they just chuck them. And I'm like, I get really like upset about that, because I think you have to make decisions. But I do think everything has a life force and has a potential. And I think in terms of pedagogy, decolonial pedagogy and things like that. I think it makes, or should make, us think about the knowledge of canons and how we can open that out, how we can show something else that's already there that we don't use, that we don't think has knowledge, and yet there's knowledge in it. So for me, yeah, I hope that it helps me to see, it's an optimistic thing to see the good in it, and also to think about positionality in terms of, I might have a particular experience in pedagogy, but it doesn't mean that it won't work, because somebody else could have done the same thing and it worked in a different way. And with growing, that's the same. We all have our own experiences, but it shouldn't put us off. But it does, what it does do in this sort of session, I'm sort of thinking about it, it's just so, for me, gratifying to speak to other people about some really simple ways of growing that hardly cost anything, and how that can impact what you do, and how you can use it in terms of semiotic signs around pedagogy. And I'd really like to do more of this. It's a bit like Sigmoni and the how knitting takes you through, but how you can really do this and document the growing of it.
Yeah.
I mean, would you do this in a kind of a workshop situation in academic enhancement, for example? Would that be something which could be folded into that kind of modelling?
Yeah, I'd love to. Oh my gosh, yeah, spring onions all the way. Yeah, definitely, because I just think there's something intrinsic about it. And I know in the Bauhaus pedagogy, they used to encourage people to grow in the garden. They would eat it in the canteen, and then you've got this Bauhaus putting that type of pedagogy within their curriculum. So I don't think it's a new thing, but I think it's experimental. What happens?
Right.
I think I think you're drawing parallels with really important things. So that it might be just simply that it's spring onions, but actually that mystification of how you grow things, and that it requires all these rinky tools and kind of a huge garden, that inhibits people to try it. And what you're hacking is that mystification that is what, I don't know, neoliberal agenda has, that it does make us feel that we have to kind of engage or buy things in order to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's a really profound political act to resist that. Sorry, Jonathan. Yeah.
No, sorry, I'm interrupting, Mel.
No, I finished. Go.
And that we have to have success. Barbara's talking about the tomatoes, and it's kind of frustrating that she didn't get the tomatoes, but actually the growing process was really fascinating and interesting. And Barbara had a different result with tomatoes than Jheni had, and they did it in different ways, and different things happened in different situations. And one year something happened, and another year another thing happens. And actually, this whole, it is an absolutely another conversation that just feels so laden with potential. As Jheni said, the potential for kind of doing stuff in slightly different ways, and having a go and hacking it, and kind of taking some things and sort of doing things in a slightly different way in the space that you have available, right? And I don't have a garden, but I've got pots. I've certainly got yogurt pots, aplenty, and the notion of actually, those can be repurposed for doing something which might bring somebody some pleasure. And I'm not particularly into spring onions, but they might be into spring. That sort of the kind of the notion of being able to sort of share things and share approaches, and the sharing of seeds and tips, and kind of taking things from from Monty Don and grafting onto the kumquats, or I don't know, whatever it might be. This thing of actually we I think many of us in, or people in education. I'm not necessarily talking about educators. I think people sort of who pay for an education. This thing of it's got to be right, and you got to have the right soil. and you got to have the right conditions, and things have to be done in a particular way because that's the right way to do it. If I can't do it that way, then it's not going to work. Therefore, I've got to make sure I do it in the right way because I need it to be right. And if it's not right because the slugs have come along, then it's a failure. But try it a different way. And it's the Jheni, what you're giving me is this sense of, as Mel says, this sense of, yeah, I didn't think that was going to be possible for me because I don't do it and I don't know anything about it, and it feels way too clever or way too skilled. But actually, you take a bunch of spring onions and you dunk them in the pot of a pot of water, and something happens. And it's those little things that we can sort of start to give us the possibility of doing something else.
Yeah, definitely.
I was going to say that I liked because Jonathan, you asked the question of how the gardening relates to Jheni's practice, and you mentioned this idea of it's the optimism, right?
Yeah.
Optimism of things. And I think I never saw it that way. I think, for instance, I was doing interviews this week for getting students onto the BA course, and I had one student, and I thought I wasn't sure about. I'd looking through her work, and what was I think of great potential, and could see that but there was something there, right? There's something there, and it's that thing of just even being optimistic and pushing through things and really figuring it out, but it's all part of the process, right? So I think that's what I've gotten from what you're saying. Like, if it doesn't work, try it out, try a different way. It doesn't mean you've got it wrong. You just have to do it in a different format, basically. Yeah.
I think what's also really important is that sense that education isn't something that you can control the outcome of. So with students, you can offer them something and it might work, it might not work. But I think that sense of optimism, of kind of commitment to trying something, but that not really knowing where some student, I'm saying student, but where the student's going to take it or how it's going to seed or where they're going to take the ideas. You don't really know what's going to happen. So you just have to kind of have that optimism, but that relinquishing of control in terms of teaching. So maybe that's that teaching learning thing. So that's what I've got again, Jheni, from what you've been talking about.
Yeah, but also learning, Mel. Also learning. The relinquishing control in terms of learning. This sense that we need to have got something, and that we need to understand, and that we need to get it now, and that's the sign of success. And actually, we don't know what we are taking from a learning situation. Sometimes we don't know for some considerable time.
Yeah, I think there's something about reflection in all of this. It's reflecting over stuff. But I also think there's something about when a student, I was also interviewing last week, and there was a student, and I'm like, hold on a minute, ask the questions, see what happens. I thought something's not right here. So I just said, I'm going to ask you the questions again. Just relax. I know it's, that whole thing of encouraging, nurturing people to then just take a breath, to relax a bit, and then sometimes I'll do an interview and I won't look at the reference because I just want to find out about the person. And then I thought, oh, let me look at the stuff here. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But some people in an interview situation, it's so daunting, so daunting, and their future rests on just that. So for me, it's about that again, what Simone was saying about that whole thing, there's a life force in everything. It just has to be activated and not ignored, not just thrown aside. Oh no, we don't want those. We know this works, so we're going to go with this. But that whole thing of encouraging and nurturing all our students, sort of, I suppose it is about social justice issues. And I hope this is a way of, Simone, I'm going to use you as a metaphor, of knitting together gardening and social justice, racial justice, all those things into something. And I'm just thinking again, Jonathan, about what you were saying, you know, what would happen if we did some, you know, took some of these ideas and turned them into some workshops. You know, what happens if we're all knitting or learning to knit while we're talking about something else? That whole thing of somebody saying that the atmosphere changes, which I thought was really interesting. And what happens if you get people to grow something and then just hopefully encourage them that it doesn't matter, for me, it doesn't matter where your student comes from, it's your job to activate them, make sure that they know the unknowns, because some of them don't know what they don't know, and it's just like they'll flounder. And it's what can be done to say, well, you know, read that, but look at that, go and do that, and then come back, let's have a conversation about it. You're not doing the work for them, they're doing the work, but you've got an optimistic outlook for them because you know they've got the life force within them. And I really think, and you might have to try different ways of doing that for it to work. And you might have to work with other students as co-designers of curricula as well, so that it's the power relations are flattened a bit, the hierarchy is a bit more down. And you know, if we can do that through a couple of bunches of green onions, I mean, we'll have to take out that LP, if you remember the song Green Onions. Or was it green onions or green tomatoes? I can't remember, something like that.
I don't know.
Yeah, we've got 8 minutes left.
Is that the companion planting?
Companion planting is really interesting, and there's one called the Three Sisters that they do in South America. So they'll grow corn. It's corn, beans. The beans go up the corn. I can't remember what the third one is, but they grow them together, companion, and that really helps. And then I think in vineyards, don't they grow, is it marigolds or lavender in vineyards to keep away certain flies and things? And then there's the sacrificial planting. Have you heard of that? So sacrificial planting.
As composting?
No, sacrificial planting is where you grow extra cabbages because the rabbits or whatever eat as well. So you grow more than you need so that other things can eat too. Yeah.
No, but I was comparing the companion planting with your analogy of sort of, or your example of actually working with a student to find their information, you know, their information, that you're directing them, but you're accompanying them, not you are feeding them, but you're not spoon feeding them. You're saying this is where you could go. You're kind of like, I guess you're kind of like holding their hands in a very nurturing kind of way, but it's up to you to up to the student to actually go look underneath the plant and see what's there.
I think that's a really good way of looking at it. Oh, Jonathan, I think there's a book here, Jonathan.
Indeed. Not to forget that you know, I think any of us who are, you know, involved in education recognize that the educational experiences, for all they can be tough and fundamentally challenging, I would suggest that you know, if we are trying to teach, invariably we learn. You know, invariably as a you know, anybody that we are attempting to teach, we will learn from that experience, where in whatever way. And I think what I find really, you know, stimulating about this kind of conversation is the fact that all you experienced people, again, you know, have your sort of your things that you do, but actually the sharing of the information and the kind of the vibing off one another as you're talking about things, and the kind of the suggestions, and oh, I've tried this and this is kind of interesting, and the learning sort of continues. You know, we are we're all of us learning together. And I think that notion of, for me, it all comes down to process, that thing of just loving the trying, and seeing the potential, having the intent, seeing the potential, trying some stuff, giving it some care and support, not worrying too much if we don't see the results that we expect, but just kind of appreciating that actually, those seeds, Jheni, that the tomato seeds, you got the buzz of seeing them kind of growing, and you forgot to water them, or you didn't plant them on, or whatever else. Hey, mistakes happen, and we can't have wins every time. And for next time that at that point you have to. But actually, the pleasure of kind of seeing that thing, and the unexpected joy of that, those sprouts. Yeah. There's the win, and noticing that and saying to those seedlings, hey, you're seedlings. This is great. It doesn't matter about when you become tomatoes.
Really quickly, briefly. So my students on my first year, they're doing a project at Stave Hill, a dye garden project.
Oh, lovely.
Which, I mean, I can definitely let you know how that goes. I haven't been to visit because I was supposed to take them, I think, the week before, but it's my year leader that's running the project. So Stave Hill was a massive dye garden, and they're growing their own dyes. They're having a guy called Shane Waltner that teaches me on foundation that's working on the project. So it might even be nice for you to even come and see that. Obviously, I think it would be perfect. So we can, I think definitely seeing how. I haven't been to visit Stave Hill. Does anyone know of Stave Hill?
Where is it?
It's near South London. It's near South London. I put in the chat. But I will definitely let you know.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And even get you to comment. I mean, I don't know how they're reflecting on that process. It's in Timber SE16. I've never been before.
So they're using the dyes from plants and vegetables and things.
Yeah, but they're growing their own. It's supposed to almost be like a community based project. It's for our project. We're looking for our next one is all around common ground, and so it's going to be a way, and they haven't done anything like this before, so it should be good to see kind of how they reflect on that process.
Yeah,
I'll definitely let you know how it goes, Jheni.
Thank you. So we've got 2 minutes left. One last thing I want you to say that came from Mel is the importance of unlearning sometimes in order to learn in a different way. So even though you watch Mr. Don and his massive gardens, it's important to know that you can grow a garden in a cup or a meadow in a pot.
Unlearning is really under thought about. I think that's a really interesting point.
Jonathan, I just want to say thank you, Barbara, so much, our Secretary of South London Seed Society. Thanks, Barbara, and thanks everybody for being here and taking part in this. It's been great. And Jonathan, I just wondered if you could introduce the people who are coming in next.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next section, I'm sure they will introduce themselves. But we've got Stacey Lee Ross, Naomi Stauska, Kevin Fotheringham, and Crystal Zhang, who are doing a session on awakenings. They are coming from global. It's a global session. So Trinidad and Tobago, China, and the UK. And I don't know whether any people are. Are we in a different space? We're put in a different space.
I think they're on Zoom call.
Gosh, okay.
And Barbara, I was just going to say, if you do end up doing a beginners kind of growing class, make sure you invite me. Barbara,
I will do.
Thank you. Lovely to meet you as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye all.